three stages of production. Okay, well, we've got increasing returns, we have decreasing returns, and then we've got negative returns. Okay, so today we're going to look at the measuring costs. Okay, so yesterday I think before we got interrupted, we talked about the three types of costs that we have. So we have what we call, first of all, there's what we call total cost, and total cost is just the summation of variable and fixed cost. Okay, so total cost is just the summation of variable and total on the fixed cost. So when we add fixed plus variable cost, we get total cost. Okay, and then we say that fixed costs are costs that do not change with the level of output. They can only be eliminated by shutting down. Okay, and then we talked about the variable costs, and we said that variable costs are costs that vary with the level of output. Okay, and then we said that we can get average total cost. So since total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost, so fixed cost plus variable cost, then for us to get the average total cost, we're just going to divide throughout by Q. Where's my mouse? So since our total cost is equal to fixed plus variable, to get the average total cost, so average total cost, to get the average total cost is just equal to total cost out of the level of output, or total cost per level of output. So this will give us the average total cost. So this will give us the average total cost. So average total cost is equal to total cost out of or divided by the level of output. And this means that on average, if we produce an extra unit, how much does this extra unit of output contribute to total cost? Or if, in short, we want to ask ourselves to say, okay, on average, what is the total cost per output? So what is the total cost per output? So that gives us the average total cost. So from the total cost function, we can get one, the average total cost. Two, we can get the average fixed cost again. So average fixed cost is equal to the fixed cost per unit of output. So this is over. Okay, so it's the fixed cost over the units of output. So that will give us the average fixed cost. At the same time, we can also get what we call the average variable cost, which is equal to total cost per unit of output Q. So first of all, we have defined total cost. That total cost is equal to fixed plus variable cost, 1. 2, we have talked about the fixed costs, that these are costs that do not change with the level of output, and they can only be eliminated by shutting down. Then we've talked about the variable costs, that these are costs that increase with the level of output. So unlike fixed cost, variable cost changes, it's variable in nature. And then we've talked about the average total cost, that the average total cost is just the total cost function divided throughout by Q. Then we have divided that into 2, where we've got the average fixed cost and also the average variable cost. Okay. Okay, so just like we did yesterday when we were talking about output, we're not coming up with a table and then graphing, we can also do the same even under the cost side. We can do the same even here. So we have units of output. Okay, then now rate of output. About this, we have the fixed cost side, we have the variable cost side. Okay, and you know that when we get the fixed cost plus the variable cost, we must get the total cost. So the 50 for the fixed cost, and then one thing that can help us know that this cost is fixed and this one is variable is just by looking at the table. So if we look at our table, the fixed cost is 50 throughout, meaning that this does not change with the level of output. Okay, this does not change with the level of output. When output is 0, a fixed cost is supposed to be paid. As you can see, even as output is increasing, this cost does not change. This cost is not changing. So in short, fixed costs are fixed throughout the production period. Okay, they do not change with the level of output. So that's how we have this 50 throughout. This shows that it does not change with the level of output. And then we have the variable cost now, and this one is changing with the level of output. It's changing with the level of output. As you can see, when output is 0, you have the variable cost is 0. Why? Because this moves in tandem with the output. So since you have not produced anything, then there should be no change in the variable cost. But the moment you produce a unit of output, variable cost start manifesting now. Okay, so as you can see, as the level of output is increasing, variable costs are also increasing. Okay, so if you add fixed plus variable, you should get the total here. Okay, so 50 plus 50 of the 100, 50 plus 78 of the 128, 50 plus 98, you have the 148, just like that. Okay, so sometimes what they can do is, for instance, they'll just give you one number there for the fixed cost, just this 50 pa. Then they expect you to fill this table here or this column. When you are done, what they can do is, it's either they can give us the total cost and ask us to get the variable cost, okay, which of course we know that if we have the total cost and then we don't have the variable cost but we have the fixed cost, which is fixed throughout, we can just be subtracting. We get the 50 from the 50, we get that 0. We get the 50, we subtract this 50 from the 100, we get this 50. So in short, we should be familiar with the table. Okay, how about marginal cost? So remember, we said that marginal cost is the change in total cost as a result of let me just say it's a change in cost as a result of a change in output. So as we are increasing an extra unit of output, how does this extra unit of output affect our cost? So that is the marginal cost. Okay, so as you can see, when output is when total cost is 50, our marginal is just nothing. Okay, it's just nothing because there has been no change. But as the cost is increasing from 50 to 100, the marginal, the increment is the 50. So that becomes the marginal. As the total cost is increasing from 100 to 128, okay, the difference, the 28, is the marginal. So with the marginal cost, we are looking at how does an increase in production, so how does that extra unit that you have produced, what is the impact of that on the cost? Okay, so that is the marginal cost. So you do the same throughout. Okay, so you just get the difference between 100 and the 50, that becomes your marginal, the 50. The difference between 128 and the 100, that becomes your marginal, the 28. The difference between 148 and 128, which is the 20, it becomes your marginal. Then let's get the average fixed cost.
Mr. Lungo.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, just to take you back a minute. I don't know if it's just on my side. We stopped getting you. I think it's a network challenge. I don't know on your side. If you can just repeat on the marginal cost again.
Oh, okay. On the marginal cost. Okay, so remember that marginal cost is just the let me do this. So marginal cost is just the change in total cost. Why is this thing tripping? Change in total cost due to a change in output. So the way we get marginal cost from, let's say, given numbers like these ones, you just get cost 2 minus cost 1. This should give you the marginal. So total cost, let's start with when output is 0. So when output is 0, our total cost is 50, which means the marginal is nothing, because there's been no change whatsoever in our total cost. When you increase production from 1 unit, so from 0 unit to 1 unit, our cost has increased from 50 to 100. Therefore, the marginal is the difference between cost 2, which is the 100, minus the 50. Then you get the 50 as your marginal. When you produce output number 2, this one here, okay, you see that our cost has increased from 100 to 128. Therefore, the marginal, the increase, the incremental cost is the difference between 128 and 100. That's where this 28 is coming from. So that's what you do. You just get the difference between the next one minus the previous one. This one minus minus the previous one. Just like that. Those differences will give you the marginal cost. How is that now, sir? How is that?
Put that line. I don't know. Maybe you can ask from the rest. I don't know if it's just on my side, but okay. I was really trying to feedback. Like you were breaking when we just started talking again. Oh. I don't know about others. If it's on me, I don't know.
Okay, let me just get confirmation. Mr. Mpanza, can you hear me?
Yes, actually, the time I was using it, I was experiencing the same problem, but I've switched to MTN.
Okay, so now it's just smooth.
Yes, it's very fine.
Okay, Mr. Msonda. What's your experience?
Okay, now I can get you. I'm able to get you, but there was just at some point when you were explaining on marginal. On marginal cost here, there was at some point where I was totally not getting you. Like there was terrible feedback. Yes, I was thinking maybe it's just on my end, maybe it's my network.
Okay, let's try Mr. Piri. How is it?
You are very loud and clear, sir.
Oh, okay. Then Mr. Msonda, it could be your net.
Yeah, it must be my network then.
Yeah, but don't worry. The recording will still come.
Okay, all right.
So don't stress. The recording will still come.
Now, Mr. Lungu, before you continue, so which figures do they give us, or which figures are we given before we start calculating this? Or they will just be in question form and we have to formulate all these things?
No. What they will do is, for instance, they will give you this column for output because they know that it's irrelevant. Okay, so they're going to give you this column, and then under the fixed cost, they can erase everything here. Okay, in short, everything here will be blank, and then maybe they can just give you that figure there, the 50. Okay, and then they've even with the narration. Don't worry, they'll put the narration. So we're going to have fixed cost on top, just like that. We'll have the rate of output, just like that. So they know that you must know that with fixed cost, it's supposed to be fixed throughout. So they can just erase this whole part here throughout, just like that, and then they just leave just that fifth on top. Okay, so they can do that, and then additionally, what they can do also is maybe they will not do anything with the variable cost. They will not do anything with the variable cost, but they can give us the total cost. So question 1 will be, for instance, complete the table. Okay, complete the table above, where under the fixed cost they've just given us one figure, the 50, and then the variable cost column is just blank. They want you to fill it throughout, and then they give us the total cost, because they know that for us to get variable cost, we should be subtracting. So we should be getting the difference between the total cost and the fixed cost. Why? Because total cost comes from two factors: the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So they know that if we have the total cost, finding variable cost will not be a problem. Okay, given that we have also the fixed cost. So under the fixed cost, we know that this does not change with production. It doesn't change throughout the production period. Therefore, one figure is enough for us to fill the rest, because it's just that figure throughout. Okay, so that's one thing that they can do. So under the fixed cost, one figure is enough, just giving you a hint to say it was this much throughout the production period. So you just drag it, you finish the table, you finish the column, and then with the variable cost, assuming that they have given us the total cost, we know that to get the variable cost, we are just going to be subtracting. So for instance, to get these figures here, okay, I'm just erase it. It has become a bit messy. So for us to get these figures here, we're just going to be subtracting. So it will be this 50 for the total cost minus this 50 for the fixed cost. That will give us the variable cost. This 100 for the total cost minus this 50 for the fixed cost, it will give us the 50 for the variable cost. The 128 minus 50 will give us the 78 for the variable cost. Okay, so there are cases of that nature. And then for the marginal cost, what they can do is, of course, this should just be blank. Okay, this column, the whole of it can just be blank, and then they expect us to put the figures there, because they know that we know that with the marginal cost, we're just going to be getting the difference between the current less previous, current less previous. So for instance, when total cost is 50, it makes more sense that the marginal cost should be nothing. That's why there are those two bars there. It just shows that there's nothing whatsoever. Okay, and then when total cost reaches 100, so this has come as a result of this unit that we've produced, the 1 unit. Therefore, the marginal cost is just the 100 less 50, and that is where this 50 here is coming from. Let me erase and you can see the figures clear. Okay, so that is where this 50 is coming from. And then with the next unit, so it's more like you're increasing production from 1 unit to 2 units now. So this extra unit from 1 to 2, this extra unit has contributed about 128 units to total cost. Therefore the margin will be the 128 less the 100, which is the 28. So the pattern should be the same until the last one. All right, that's okay, Mr. Mbanza. Is that okay, sir?
Yes, but we can just pick the mid one and we do from the first to the last there.
We pick the mid one?
Yes, any from the middle, and we just do from the first to the last one. We see how to do.
Any on the middle. Can we pick
middle? Let's get the middle.
Okay.
Let's say we get that the one in line 5. I mean where there is 6.
Where there is 6.
Yes.
And I'm now looking for the 6.
Oh, to your left.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one?
No. What I mean, could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now when we start from there and we start answering that until to the end, the average total cost.
Until we reach the average total cost.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I am getting your question clearly. Let me try. Okay, so starting from there, going down, I assume that's what you're trying to say. Okay, and if that is true, then let's try it out. Okay, so the logic is the same. When we have produced 6 units, given that the fixed cost is the same 150, and then now the variable cost has reached 150. When we add the 2, we are going to get a total cost of 200. The margin of this 20 has been found after getting the difference between the 200 and the previous cost, the 180. So we have the 20 there. And then average fixed cost is equal to total fixed cost divided by the number of units Q. Okay, so the fixed cost is 50. Okay, it's 50. 50 divided by the number of units 6. So when you do 50 divided by 6, we are going to get this value here, the 8.3. So that is where this 8.3 came from. So when you do 50 divided by 6, you're good. Can you get me? Can you get me?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
can get you.
Okay. Someone was disturbing. Like someone was trying to give me a direct call. Okay. Sorry about that. So that's how we got the 8.3. So it's just the fixed cost divided by the total number of units. So we have the 8.3 to get the average variable cost. So average variable cost is equal to variable cost out of the number of units Q. Okay, so anyway, these things are more like self-explanatory. When we're getting average fixed cost, it's on average. Okay, on average, how much does one unit, or to what extent will a unit of output affect our fixed cost? Okay, that is with the average variable cost. Sorry, average fixed cost. With average variable cost, the question will be, okay, so this 1 unit, how much is it contributing to the variable cost? So if it's average fixed cost, it's fixed cost by output. If it's average variable cost, it's going to be variable cost per unit of output. So that's a logic. So the average variable cost, we're going to say the variable costs, total variable cost is 150, this one. Okay, if we divide 6 into 150, we're going to get the 25. Okay, so that is where this 25 came from. That is where the 25 came from. And then average total cost. So average total cost, this is a T, sorry, is equal to average fixed cost plus average variable cost. So average total cost is equal to average fixed cost plus the average variable cost. So to get the 33.3, we're just going to add the average fixed cost, the 8.3, plus the average, sorry, we're going to add the average fixed cost, the 8.3, plus the average variable cost, the 25. We're going to get the 33. We're going to get the 33. Okay, so the analysis will be the same even up to the 11th unit. So with the 11th unit, we know that fixed cost will never change, will be the same 50. Then our variable cost is now 385. And when we add 50 plus the 385, we're going to get our total cost of 435. To get the marginal cost, we're going to subtract 350 from 435. In short, it will be the 435, the current value, minus the previous value, the 350. Then we're going to get the 85. To get the average fixed cost, we know that the average fixed cost is just the fixed cost, which is the 50, divided by the number of units, the 11. So 50 divided by 11 will give us the 4.5, this one. Okay, to get the average variable cost, we know that it's the variable cost, the 385, divided by 11, the number of units. So if we do that, we're going to get the 35. To get the average total cost, we know that average total cost is equal to average fixed cost plus the average variable cost. So 4.5 plus 35, we are going to get the 39.5. So that is how we play around with the table. So they're just these funny mathematics that is supposed to be used. We just need to know that, okay, since total cost is equal to fixed plus variable cost, then for me to get average variable cost, it will be variable cost divided by the level of output. For me to get the fixed cost, for me to get the average fixed cost, it's just going to be the fixed cost divided by the level of output. Therefore, for me to get the average total cost, I'll just add the average fixed cost plus the average variable cost. So that is what is supposed to be done. Okay, let me get some feedback. Mr. Msonda, can you hear me now? How is your net?
I'm able to get you.
Okay. And how
Yes, then Mr. Lungu.
Yes, sir.
It's going well. It's
Okay.
going well. We just need I just need to familiarize with these same formulas
Oh yeah.
that we are using, especially the ones at the end.
Oh, I
The one
see.
that we've done at the end. Just need to familiarize with them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you going maybe to send us those formulas, or maybe we can make them just as we replay the video again?
Oh, okay. What I can do is I can just write them and then post them on the group. So that
Yeah, I think that would help.
okay, not a problem, sir. I'll do that.
All right. All right.
I'll do that. So if not tonight, then it's tomorrow morning. But I've sent
Okay,
them.
no problem.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So this is how we do the table. So remember, when we are doing the production side, we did the graphing. So we have to do the same here. Remember, I said that the production and cost, these are more like cousins. Yeah. So if you know one side, somehow, the mirror image will give you the other side. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's try to look at how the graphs look like and why. So let's start with the total cost. So total cost will always start from a point where output is 0. The reason is simple. Let's go back to our graph. Check, when output was 0, we still had a value for total cost. Why? Because total cost comes from 2. So variable cost, okay, let's start with the fixed cost. So total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost, and the fixed cost is the 50. So 50 plus the variable cost is 0, but at the end of the day, total cost is equal to 50. It's equal to 50. So what you should know is that the graph for total cost will start from at the point where output is 0. Why? Because we know that even if we're not producing anything, we're supposed to pay the fixed cost. Therefore, the total cost will be equal to that particular value for the fixed cost, even if output is 0. So that is the reason why the total cost curve is starting at that particular point where Q is equal to 0 there. Why? Because it's coming from so this one is coming from the fixed cost. Okay, so at the end of the day, this is how our graph is going to look like for the total cost. Okay, so the most important thing that we should know is that the total cost is going to always start at the point, is going to start from at that particular point where output is equal to 0. Why? Even if variable costs are 0, okay, fixed cost will still be positive. Fixed cost will still be positive. And since total cost comes from fixed and variable cost, even if variable cost is 0, the value for total cost will still be a positive number, which is in this case must be equal to the value of the fixed cost. So that is the reason why the total cost is not starting at that particular point where output is 0. It's starting at that, on top there. Okay, in short, the total cost is not going to start from the origin. Okay, it's not going to start from the origin because of that fact. Okay, so that's the most important thing that we should know about the total cost. And then with the variable cost, it's going to always start at that particular point where output is 0. Why? We know that when output is 0, variable cost is also 0. So in short, it's more like you're graphing 0, 0, and 0, 0, it's at the origin there, and then it's going to follow through somehow. It's going to follow the shape of the total cost. Okay, and then one important thing that you should also pay attention to is something to do with a fixed cost. Fixed cost, remember, it's just a number 50. That is the reason why it's just a horizontal line, just like that. So that would be the shape of the fixed cost. So since it's just a number, a 50 in this case, okay, it will just be that horizontal line there, showing that even if output is changing from 0 to 11, fixed cost will never change. It will still be the 50 throughout. Okay, so one thing is that total cost will always be will always start from there a bit higher, okay, because of the 50 coming from the fixed cost. Okay, but with the variable cost, it's going to start from the origin. Why? When output is 0, variable costs are equal to 0. Okay, so when output is 0, variable costs are equal to 0. So therefore, the variable cost curve is going to start from the origin, and then the fixed cost will just be a horizontal line, okay, showing that even if output is changing, our fixed costs are not going to change. Our fixed costs will not change. It will still be that fixed number. Okay, how about the margin on the average? Here there's drama. So the first thing that we should start with is maybe we start with the marginal cost. Yeah, marginal costs will always take this shape. And yesterday I said that the mirror image of average product and marginal product will be the average cost and the marginal cost. Okay, so remember the same type of analysis that we did here. Now the reverse is true for the cost side. So here we are saying that as long as the marginal product is increasing and it's above the average product, then average product will be increasing. If we're analyzing this from the cost side, we're going to say the opposite, saying that as long as, so look at this, as long as the marginal is decreasing and it's below the average, then the average is going to be decreasing as well, and the two will intersect at a point where average product is at its maximum. Then beyond this particular point, marginal product will be higher than average product, and because of that reason, average product will also start rising, just like we did there, only that it's just a reverse. Okay, it's just a reverse. Okay, so yes, so we have the marginal, which is taking that shape, and then we have the average total cost there. Okay, and then we also have the average variable cost. Okay, so we have the marginal cost curve, which is taking that particular shape, which is just a mirror image of the marginal product. If we're analyzing this from the production perspective, would have been talking about the marginal product, average product, those things. So if we were to put another graph here, okay, and do the opposite, which means that those curves should now be like this, okay, like that. Okay, so this is with production. Okay, so the one on top could be for production, and then this one is for the cost side. In short, if you know how to do interpretation from the production side, it will be easy for you to do the interpretation from the cost side. Okay, because the two are somewhat related, only that the relationship is negative. Okay, yeah. So what you are seeing is that in A, the total cost curve is the vertical sum of fixed and variable, and this we have already discussed that total cost is just equal to variable plus fixed cost. In B here, average total cost. So in B here, this one is the average total cost. Okay, the average total cost is the sum of average variable cost and average fixed cost. I think we've talked about this way, that since total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost, then it makes sense to say average total cost is equal to average fixed cost plus average variable cost. Okay, and then the marginal cost, this red one, I don't know if this is red or purple, I don't know, but see, the marginal cost, this one here, the marginal cost crosses the average variable cost and the average total cost curves at their minimum points. So what we are seeing is that this curve, the marginal cost curve, the one in red, this one, okay, the marginal cost is going to cross the average variable cost and the average total cost at their minimum points. Okay, so that's another thing that we should pay attention to, and that is that the marginal cost crosses the average variable cost and the average total cost at their minimum points. Okay, so that's with the graphing for the cost side. So yesterday we were looking at production, and this time around we are looking at the cost side. We are looking at it from the cost perspective. Okay, let me get some feedback just to be sure that we are together. Mr. Mpanza, how is it going? Mr. Mpanza or Mr. Msonda or anyone, just give me the feedback.
We are following.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mwakwa. Thank you. Now, remember that the main reason why firms exist, or the main target of the firm, is to maximize their revenue, so that when the revenue side is maximized, it's obvious that the profit is also going to be maximized. So the main reason why firms exist is to make profit. Okay, so but of course, for you as a firm to maximize your profit, you need to know on how best you can maximize your revenue side, and at the same time how best you can minimize the cost side. Okay, so we know that revenue is nothing but what you get after selling something. Okay, and the cost is those expenses that you're going to incur during the production period. Okay, therefore profit is just a difference between revenue and the total cost. So that's another formula which you should understand, that profit, let's represent profit by pi. So profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. And now we know that total revenue is the price times quantity, minus, we also know that total cost is fixed cost plus variable cost. Okay, so all we are saying here is that profit is a difference between total cost and it's a difference between revenue and the total cost. Okay, so profit is just a difference between total revenue and total cost, where total cost is coming from two factors, or from two sides, fixed side and the variable side. Okay, so the firm's objective is to maximize profit. Okay, therefore for this firm to achieve this, it has to try to change output levels. By doing so, this is going to affect both production side as well as the revenue side. So in short, for a firm to maximize its profit, it needs to, more like find this level of output where profit is maximized. Okay, and that is what we call profit maximizing output. Okay, and that's what we call profit maximizing output. So profit maximizing output is just a level of output that is going to, allow this firm to maximize its profit. So you as the manager, you are supposed to know, to say, okay, the amount of output that I should produce for me to maximize my profit must be this much. Because you know that if you're going to produce less than the optimal, then you're not going to maximize your profit. At the same time, if you produce more than the optimal amount, you are also not going to maximize your profit. Therefore, it's very important for managers to know the profit maximization output. Okay, so now let's look at this. Well, we've got the total revenue, total cost, and total profit. So your output is 0. Okay, price per unit is unknown, because it's unknown. Therefore, your revenue, and revenue is price times quantity, is just going to be 0, because remember, you're not producing anything. So since you're not producing anything, your revenue must be nothing, unless you're a thief. Okay, but of course in economics we don't allow such extreme cases to be brought into consideration. So so we know that total revenue is going to be price times quantity, and since your output is 0, okay, then it's obvious that your total revenue is going to be 0, because this is multiplication. If one of the terms is 0, the whole thing collapses to 0. Okay, and then let's assume that at the same time, when your output is 0, your total cost is 10. Therefore, you are not going to realize a profit. Actually, you are going to realize a loss. Why? Because remember, profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. And now you have a situation where profit is equal to your total revenue is 0, and then your cost is 10. Therefore, you end up having what we call a negative profit, and the negative profit is nothing but a loss. So this negative 10 here shows that you've made a loss. Okay, you've made a loss. Then when you have produced that 1 unit, the price is now 21. Okay, given that the price is 21, so your total revenue will be price times quantity. 21 times 1 giving you a 21. And then we are assuming that when your total revenue is equal to 21, your total cost, so in short, it's more like for you to produce the 21, for you to produce this 1 unit of output, okay, you have incurred a total cost of 25 kwacha. Okay, and your revenue is only 21. Therefore, you've again made a loss, because the cost side is higher than the revenue side. So you've made a loss. You produce the second output number 2, assuming that the price is now 10. Okay, total revenue is price times quantity. Therefore, your total revenue should be 40. 20 times 2, 40. And assuming that as this is going on, you find that your total cost is 36. So total revenue 40 minus total cost 36, you get a 4. And since this 4 is positive, it shows that you now have a profit. So you've made a profit of 4 units. Why? Because the revenue side, the 40, is greater than the cost side, the 36. So the analysis is the same until the 10th unit, where at the 10th unit the price is 12. So price times quantity, you have 120 as your revenue, and then you find that the cost is 129. So since the revenue side is less than the cost side, you have a loss of 9 kwacha. You have a loss of 9. So how do you know that it's a loss or a profit? The value. If the value is negative, then you have a loss. If the value is positive, then you have a profit. Okay. So yeah, let me get the feedback if we're okay with the table. Mr. Mwakwa, how is the table?
I'm okay with the table. It's very clear.
Oh, perfect. I assume that's the same thing, Mr. Piri.
Yeah, it's clear. Though I'm just wondering, like Mr. Mpanza, the way you asked the question on the previous table, which we discussed. What are figures will the examiner provide in terms of this table, and what are some of the figures which they won't provide for us to work on them?
Oh, okay. So yeah. So really, at the end of it all, it depends with the mood of the examiner. But the obvious ones is the obvious ones will be cases like, for instance, they can give us the outputs, so 0 to 10, yeah. Then it's obvious that they'll give us the price, and then they'll leave total profit. Oh, sorry, they'll leave the revenue column for us to find. Okay, and then since they know that you know that profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost, what they can do is, so they can give us this column, they can also give us this column, and then they can't give us this column, and then between these two they can choose. Okay, so let's say that they have not given us this column, but they have given us this column. So it's obvious that since we have output, we have price, we'll be able to get total revenue, which means that we can hammer this column. And then since they have given us profit and not total cost, we know that we can find total cost by applying this identity here, that profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. Therefore, for us to find the total cost, we should just make total cost the subject of the formula. Okay, we should just make total cost the subject of the formula, and the moment to do that, then you know that total cost is just going to be the total revenue, this one, the total revenue, this one, minus the profit. Okay, so for instance, for us to find, let's say, the negative 10, this negative 10, we know that total revenue is 0. So 0 minus the 10. Okay, 0 minus the 10. So it's more like you have 0 minus negative 10. Why? Because this is negative here. So this will give us 0 plus 10, giving us a positive answer 10, which means that the total cost is 10. That positive 10 there. Okay, so they can just, in short, the moment we know how to use these formulas that Mr. Msonda talked about, the moment we know about these formulas, we'll be able to deal with any table, regardless of the way they have tried to manipulate it. We'll be able to deal with it, because we're just going to be using these identities, these formulas. Okay, so the key is us understanding the formulas. We really need to understand the formulas, unlike a case of memorizing. So we need to understand what's going on. We need to know that, okay, for me to get profit, okay, I should get the difference between total revenue and total cost. Why? Assume I'm a firm. Okay, so if I'm a firm, after selling my goods and services, I'll be receiving that money. Okay, that money is my total revenue. But as I produce these goods that I'm selling, I'm going to be, incurring some costs. Therefore, my profit will be the difference between the money I'll be receiving from the sale minus the total cost. That will give me the profit. So in short, we just need to understand these identities. The moment you understand the identities, the table will not really matter, because we know that it doesn't really matter whether they leave whichever column, they try to manipulate it in whatever manner. I'll just use those identities and I'll still get everything correct. Okay, so yeah, so an example of what might happen is this one here, Mr. Piri, where they can give us, they say the output, the prices, and then they don't give us total revenue, and they also don't give us total cost, but they've given us profit. So in such a case, we know that this identity is going to work out. All right, I believe that is fine, Mr. Piri.
Oh, it's clear.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so now, what's the behavior of total revenue and total cost? Let me just look at the number of slides that are remaining. We are done. We're almost done. We can finish this. Yeah, we can finish this. So let's look at the behavior. So if we are going to finish this today, I want to rush, like for us to start looking at the next topic. So what I'll do is I'll try to look for questions now. So which means those questions will cater for 2 topics or for 2 subtopics: production side and the cost side. We try to put these together. So before looking at the next topic, we're going to try to I'll try to look for those exam questions and all those things. We try just for us to be sure that okay, even as well forging ahead, there are no issues behind. Yeah, okay. I assume that's a fair game. So okay. Yeah, anyway, what really we're talking about here is that for a firm to maximize its profit, it's supposed to know the amount of units to produce for it to maximize that particular profit, and we're calling this level of output the profit maximizing output. But listen to this, there's a disclaimer here. Maximizing profit is not the same as maximizing revenue. Exactly. These are 2 different things. Maximizing profit is not equal to maximizing revenue, because with maximizing profit, we want to find the maximum profit. Okay? And with maximizing revenue, we want to find the maximum amount of income that is coming into the business. These 2 are not the same. With profit, remember, you are trying to get a difference between the revenue and the cost. Okay? But with revenue, it's just price times quantity. Therefore, these are 2 different things. If you want to maximize your profit, you are just trying to get the difference between the total revenue and the total cost. Okay? You are just trying to get the maximize that difference. Okay? But with maximizing revenue, you are just you're just maximizing the income that is coming into the business. Okay, so example, by making 10 units per week, a firm earns $120. Yet, it's like they're referring to this table. If this firm produces 10 units, the revenue is 120. You see why we are saying that you can maximize your revenue, but that does not necessarily mean that you can maximize your profit. Why? With profit, you have to pay attention to the cost side. So it's possible that's why this is what in most cases happens with Zambian institutions, where you look at their balance sheet or you look at their income statement, you find that the revenue is this nice figure. Okay, revenue is this nice figure, gross, this nice figure. The moment we start dealing with those to my cost, you look at the final figure, hey, it's in the negatives. Okay, so it's your target. You as a manager, your target, of course, should be these two things. You're supposed to maximize your revenue. At the same time, you're supposed to maximize your profit. But all in all, pay attention to the cost side, because it's possible for you to maximize your revenue and yet the cost side is this huge. Therefore, that a huge amount for revenue is just going to go into the ruins. It's just going to go into the ruins just like that. You end up having a negative profit, which is a loss. So yes, it's very much possible for a firm to have a high revenue figure and yet it's actually making losses because of not paying attention to the cost side. Okay, so yeah, this firm has managed to produce 10 units and it's making a revenue of 120, and yet the cost is too high, making profit hit the negatives. So maximizing profit is not the same thing as maximizing your revenue. Okay, so all in all, this firm should find its profit maximizing output. So if you look at the profit, of good, -10, -4, +4, 13, 21, 26, 27. Okay, so when profit hits 27, which means you are producing 6 units, right? The moment you try to produce a 7th unit, hoping that your profit is going to continue having an upward trajectory, you are shocked. You find that you are now making a profit of 24. Imagine from 27, so in short, the curve has shifted. You are going like that, upward trajectory. You hit 27 there, maximum. You produce an extra unit of output here, then your profit starts falling. So in short, you need to know that my profit maximizing output is the 6. Why? Because this is where your profits are at max. Okay, this is where your profit are at the maximum point. So profit is at its max when you are producing 6 units. So any other output is not going to maximize this profit of yours. Okay, so the 6 is what we call the profit maximizing output. So you as a manager, you are supposed to know that my profit maximizing output is the 6. Is the 6. So it's not good to produce a high unit beyond the profit maximizing output. At the same time, it's not good to produce a lower output below the profit maximizing output, because remember, your aim is to maximize this output. So is to maximize this profit. So any other output, other than the profit maximizing output is not going to maximize your profit. Therefore, you as a manager, you are supposed to know that if I produce 30 shirts per month, my profit will be maximized. If I produce more than 30, I'm going to flood the market, and the moment the market become flooded, prices will fall. If prices will fall, my revenue is going to reduce. But remember, for me to produce more than 30, I'm having this huge cost. Therefore, I'm going to hit the negatives. So to avoid that, just produce the profit maximizing output. Okay, marginal cost, marginal revenue. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So with marginal cost, we know that it's coming from the word marginal. Okay, so it's the change in cost as we increase the production by 1 unit. Okay, so marginal cost is the increase in total cost when output is increased by 1 unit, and marginal revenue is just the increase in total revenue when output is increased by 1 unit. So every time you hear the word marginal, just know that you're talking about increment. Okay? Yeah. But what I wanted, which I believe we're going to manage. How many minutes? Okay, in the next 7 minutes. What I wanted us to look at is another identity, which is that profit is maximized. Profit is maximized at a point where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So profit is maximized at a point where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So what they can do is they'll give us the total revenue function, and they also give us the total cost function. We did some question in the assignment. We did some question in the assignment where we had the total cost. I think we had the total cost, and then we had the total revenue. We got the marginal revenue function. We also got the marginal cost function. We equated the two. Yeah, I remember. So this is now the content. Yeah. Okay. So profit is maximized at a point where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So the crucial point of this approach is that for a firm to maximize profits, marginal revenue should be equal to marginal cost, which is this identity here. Okay, so marginal revenue must equal marginal cost for profit to be maximized. What's meaning? Okay. Okay, the aim is not to finish. The aim is for you people to understand. Yeah. Okay, so marginal revenue must equal marginal cost for profit to be maximized. So as long as marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, so now let's try to go back to that graph. Oh, no. There's no marginal revenue function. Anyway, let's assume that this was perfect competition. Okay, and under perfect competition, the graph looks like this. So we have our marginal cost curve, this one marginal cost, and then we have our marginal revenue curve, this one. So we are saying that profit is going to be maximized at this level of output here, Q, where marginal revenue curve is equal to the marginal revenue curve. So as long as the marginal revenue you are producing, okay, as long as the marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost, so as long as the marginal revenue curve, this curve here, is greater than the marginal cost, it's okay for this firm to continue producing. You continue increasing the number of units that they're producing until when you reach at a point where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Boom! At that particular point, don't increase production. Okay? And at the same time, don't reduce production, because it's more like you've reached where you wanted to reach. That level of output is going to maximize your profit. A point where marginal revenue curve is equal to marginal cost curve. A point like Q. So as long as the marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost, this firm can continue producing until you hit that particular point. And the opposite is true. If the marginal cost curve, so this curve now, is above the marginal revenue curve, then it means that this firm is going to just be making losses, because it shows that the cost side is greater than the revenue side. So obviously you're making your losses. So that's not a good position to be as a manager. You shouldn't allow your firm to be producing beyond this Q. At the same time, it's not rational for this firm to be producing below Q2. So in short, below Q2 and also above Q2 is not rational. The best is to produce Q units where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Okay. Alright, so let me get feedback, and then yeah. So how is this Is it making sense? Yeah, Mr. Msonda.
Mr. Lungo.
Yes, how is it going?
How would you know that now? Yeah, the work is going okay. I just had one question.
Okay,
How
okay.
would you know that now the firm has reached its profit maximization?
Practically?
Yeah, practically, because let's say, for instance, I would give an example to say maybe if your firm is producing maybe 10 units, it has produced 10 units, maybe you've made about maybe 100,000 profit.
Yes.
So you know that next month maybe you would want to produce more units for you to make more. But how would you know to say, okay, now if I produce this, I'm going to start making losses. I should now end at if it's 20 units, I should only be producing 20 units every time.
Yes, so like in a day-to-day running of businesses, there's what they call market testing. So what they do is this: you'll be producing, you are taking note. So you have produced, let's say 10 this month. You record your revenue. You also record your cost side. You also record the profit. You do the same next month. Let's say you increase production from 10 to 20. You record. In short, you have to look at the rate at which your profit is increasing as you are increasing the number of units that you are producing. So market testing can go on, let's say, for a year. You are checking various quantities. If we supply this much to the market, how much are we making as profit? If we supply this much to the market, how much are we producing? How much are we realizing as profit? So you keep on doing that, you keep on doing that, you keep on doing that. You're going to see that. That's why I say that before you even start your business, do a market research, because that is also going to help you know the type of market you're dealing with. You know the number of suppliers that are there. This also help you to make this decision. So you test, you keep on testing until you reach at the point where you see that, okay, last month, for instance, we produced 20 units and we've made a profit of, let's say, 1 million kwacha. This month we have produced, let's say, 25 units and we have made a profit of, let's say, 500,000. And then you compare this, let's say 4 months period, you're just comparing, and then that particular month where you produced, let's say where you earned a higher profit, look at the number of units that you produced. Okay, try it again. If after producing these units you are going to realize a profit that is equal or somewhat equal to the one you registered previously, then it means that you have managed to find the profit maximizing output. So practically, for you to realize this, you need to do the market testing. So you test the market and then you do the recordings. You test the market, you do the recordings. You test the market, you do the recordings. So of course, market testing can take, can take some time for you to know the profit maximizing units. So at the end of the day, the moment you know that, okay, for us to maximize our profit, we are supposed to produce, let's say, 1,000 units of this particular commodity, then your target will be hitting the 1,000 units, because at the moment you hit those 1,000 units and you sell them, your profit is going to be maximized. So yes, practically in the real world, that is what happens. Is that okay, Mr. Msonda? Is that answer satisfactory? Hello, Mr. Msonda?
It is. I was following, sir.
Okay.
I was able to get you. I've understood, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so it's 32. I've stolen 2 minutes from your time. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so we can end here next time, which is not so. The agreement is that I believe Saturday evening should be for